Hello, welcome to this live stream. We're going to talk about how it's possible to compose a piece in 1 week, or possibly even a day, or possibly even 1 hour, by using a really sort of specific process that I've laid out. We're actually doing a composition challenge this week specifically, on the Creative Classical Guitarist, where we're going to try and get as many members to compose a piece as we can, and all of the pieces that are composed for this challenge will be recorded and published. So it's very exciting. We've already had a couple of pieces written. So if you've ever thought of composing before, and you've never tried it, then I hope this might be at least even just through this live stream that you watched today, that it might give you some encouragement to start. And feel free to ask any questions that you might have. So let's dive in and look at this process. Okay, I have to find my documents here. Okay, so the process that we're going to cover for this challenge follows 4 steps. And step 1 is to plan. Step 2 is to write your melody. Step 3 is to harmonize. And then step 4 is to edit and refine. Now, a lot of people who start composing, if they try to compose, will be able to come up with some nice ideas, but not necessarily. Well, they'll start to struggle when it comes to putting those ideas together to form a logical whole. And I think one of the keys to remedies for that is to plan, to formulate a plan first, and use that to help guide your creative process. So the plan that we've actually provided a plan here. This plan is based on the piece Adelita by Francisco Tárrega, which is this piece. So that's the A section, and then it has a B section. And then it returns to the A section here. So that's the piece that this plan is based on. So this plan has a lot of information that's been taken by studying Adelita. And when we put in these details into the plan, you basically compose into the plan, and there you go. You've got a composition, and it's based on a pre-existing piece. Now, the thing about these plans is that a lot of composers actually have these types of templates in their mind. And when you're starting out, I think it's really helpful to have this plan written out where all the details are right there in front of your eyes. So what do we do first? Like, what's the first step? There's a lot of information here, and in the challenge we actually go through pretty much like measure at a time, 1 bar at a time, in quite a bit of detail to flesh it out. So, but how can we get started? How can we sort of make sense of all this information to begin with? So one of the best ways, I think, is just to play the chord progression that's at the top. And these chords are pretty, most guitar players should be familiar with these chords: E minor, A minor, B7, and so on. So that's where we start. We can just start by going a few chords per bar. Right, so we can just play through the chord structure, play through the progression, and that's already a form of composition there. And if you start to do that, and you might come up with some like little melodic ideas, for example. Something like that. So now I'm just playing the same chords in the same positions, but adding some little melodic ideas. So you might actually find that just by seeing this template and playing through it, you might already start to get some ideas going. Your creative juices might be flowing already. So that's the template there. So let's look at the next step. So what do we do next? Well, after we've done our planning, we want to look at the melody. Now, I like to say melody is the heart of a song. You know, when you think of your favorite song, you usually are thinking of the melody. It's the thing that you can sing, you can hum, you can whistle. It's something that you can like easily attach to or associate with a piece of music or a song. It's the melody. So this plan uses a lot of techniques, melodic techniques. One of those is called a sequence. So Adelita uses a sequence. So what sequence is where you have a melodic idea that's repeated up or down in succession. So we have this initial idea here. It's 2 eighth notes and a half note, 2 eighth notes and a half note. It's dropping down gradually from E down to D down to C. So I just took that idea. I started with a really simple melody here, just B, C, B. And I said, okay, I'll sequence it up. Adelita's going down, sequencing down. I'll go the opposite way, go up. C, starting on C, and then starting on D sharp. Ending on E there. So there's our sequence. There's our first 4 bars already done. Now, it's not the most interesting melody in the world, but that's totally fine, especially if you're a first-time composer. You don't need to, be writing groundbreaking melodies. Simple is often the best anyway. So there's a really nice, simple melody that's just using a sequence. So what do we do next? We can do something called a parallel period. This is another melodic technique. So this is where we have a question and an answer. We have a 4-bar question followed by a 4-bar answer, and they mirror each other. They'll repeat each other. So in the case of Adelita, it's pretty much a full repeat. So you hear the first 4 bars. And then you hear it again. So that's pretty cool, because that means as a composer, we can basically just copy and paste the first 4 bars we had into the answer, into the following 4 bars. So we get a parallel period, and we actually get a whole A section. We get a whole first section melody. The first section, melody of the first section is completed, pretty much. I mean, at least the kind of, skeleton structure of it. So the outline structure of it. Then we can add another little detail here. So you might have noticed at the 4th bar of the question, Tardiga adds this beautiful kind of, flick to the melody, or sweep to the melody, you could say. So he's using like an arpeggio, like that. So we can do the same thing, just add an arpeggio to the 4th bar, which helps to kind of link the question, the answer together. So the question ends up sounding like, instead of stopping, we keep going. And then we go on to the answer. Okay, so that's just a little taste of where we're going with the melody. But we've got the A section melody pretty much complete. And then we go through what to do in the B section, but I'm not going to go through that now. And then, that's the last phrase, the last 4 bars there. So in total, there are only 16 bars, and then this is our completed melody. Yeah. So I'll play through it for you, just without the repeats. So So I'll play the A section, sequence up, arpeggio, repeat, parallel period, answer, and then our B section. So we're using some other melodic techniques in the B section that are based on Adalita as well. There's our completed melody. So the next step, we've done our planning, we've done our melody. Third step is to harmonize the melody. Now this is where I think a lot of guitarists can get stuck, because if you start with chords, if you start with harmony, sometimes you can create really beautiful music. And I'm not saying that this process is, the number one process in the world or anything. I think that the fact that it is a process is already a start for a lot of people. But I've found that doing your melody first gives you so much beauty and structure in your piece, and then the harmony just helps to kind of support the melody. So if you've tried to compose and you've started with chords, you might find it challenging to kind of develop your ideas from there, because chords are not always, if you play a chord, it doesn't have something that the listener can sort of like attach to like they can with the melody. So with our harmony, what are we going to do with the harmony? There seems to be so many possibilities, right? There are so many chords. Where do we begin? Where do we possibly begin? There are just 3 chords we can use called the primary chords, 1, 4, 5. So if we're in the key of E minor, the 1, 4, 5 chords will be E minor, will be our 1. We go up the scale, E, F, G, A will be the 4, and B will be the 5. Now I've got a resource here where you can basically just you can just grab a chord and plonk it, place it underneath your melody. So that's what we've got here. We've got our first 4 bars. Here are our primary chords going up the fretboard. There's E minor going up the fretboard. And then A minor going up the fretboard. And then B7 going up the fretboard. So we're just going to choose the chord that has our melody on top of it. So our melody started on a B, so we can choose this chord here, which is this one. And the next chord has a C on the top, so we choose that chord there. Next note has a D sharp on the top, so we can choose that one. And then back to E, and then we can choose this one. There we go. So we've very quickly, without knowing any theory, without knowing 4-part voice leading or any of the fancy stuff, we can just place these chords underneath the notes of our melody and end up with something beautiful. So that's the process for harmonization, and we just walk through that for each bar, for each section, for each phrase. So that's the B section, and then here is the completed harmonization. So this is the piece with the harmony now added. So step 3 done. Then the final step, edit and refine. So what do we do now? Well, this is pretty nice. Like, this is already, I think this will give you a lot of hope and a lot of encouragement when you've got a melody, nice chord progression, you've got your form, phrase structure and everything mapped out from the plan. But what do we do next? This last step I think is quite important as well. Edit and refine. This is actually, there are some fairly substantial things that will occur in this step. So let's take a look. First thing we want to do is probably simplify things, because as you heard when I was playing the chords, there's a lot of notes there, and you don't necessarily want to be playing big clunky chords on every measure. So we can just simply delete some of those notes out and we'll get a simpler texture. It's easier to play, it's a little bit less muddy. So these big muddy chords become, when we just delete some notes out, become there we go. So I've literally just deleted a few notes from each chord and we end up with something like that. And then again, we follow that process for the whole piece. We simplify, we just delete notes from the chords, and here's our simplified version now. So this is the simplified version of the whole piece. Next thing we might want to do, well, you might be thinking, okay, this is sounding pretty good, it's pretty easier to play now, but it's still a little bit, something's a little bit missing here. And that thing that you might be detecting is the chords are still landing on the first beat of every bar. It's a little bit too predictable. So what we might want to do is spread the notes out. And this is what Tariga does in Adelita. So he spreads the accompaniment out like that. Instead of going, so I'm playing it together. Like that, he's split them. So we can do a similar process. We can take our two, bass notes or chordal notes and split them apart. So we get alright, there we go. And then once again, we can apply that to the whole piece. We apply that process. We just spread the notes of the chords around, and this is what we get now. And I will play this for you very, very soon, very shortly. We're almost at the end of the whole process now. So you can see that it's starting to even look a bit more like a completed piece of music, I think, too. It's pretty, it's pretty neat to think, like we started with a blank plan and we had a melody, and you can just see how it gradually evolves. Melody, and then we put our chords in, and we simplified it a little bit, rubbed out erased some of the notes, and then now we've spread out some of those notes at the bottom. And one of the final touches here, we're a couple of final touches now to add. One of which are the fingerings. So think about what fingerings you want to use, and the final one is, so there's the version with the fingerings, and then the final one are the expressive markings and ornaments. So Adelita uses a lot of expressive markings and ornaments, dynamics, accents, slowing down, and these ornaments like slides and mordants and things like that. So that can add a nice little touch to things too. So here we have the final version with expressive markings and ornaments added. We've got the harmony, we've got the texturized, we've simplified it, and here is the final result. I'll play this for you. That's our A section. Now our B section. Back to our A section. And there we go. So there's the process, how it evolves step by step. And this is something that we look at in a lot more detail. I've just gone through this very quickly in about 20 minutes, going through the process really fast to just give you an idea of that. So there we go. Any questions? Let me know if you have any questions in the chat. I'm going to get to those now. So let me take a look, see if we have any questions that have come in. So I'll see Eli and Trisha in the chat. Let me know if you have any questions. You've both written beautiful pieces based on this same plan. So that might be a question that you have is, well, if everyone's using the same plan, won't their pieces all sound the same? That's a very legitimate question to ask. But what we've seen is that, I don't know exactly how, it's a bit mysterious exactly how this happens, but everyone actually adds their own spin on things. Everyone adds their own take. And even if it's your first time composing, somehow that, something that's inside of you wants to come out, and it comes out onto the plan, and it sounds different to everyone else's. So, and I've got proof of that because we have a whole bunch of beautiful pieces that have used this same plan. So if there are no questions yet, someone, all right, cool, just arrived in time for the summary. All right, you can watch the replay as well if you like. So yeah, so let's take a look at some of these pieces that have been composed already using this same plan, and I think you'll see the versatility that's been created. So I'll play for you. I see Trisha's in the chat here. So one of her pieces is called Between the Tides. So I think Trisha's written at least 2 pieces using the same plan. And maybe she can clarify that for us in the chat. So Between the Tides, here is her piece, Between the Tides, using this sort of process that we've talked about. So I'll play through without the repeat, so you'll hear the A section in minor and then the B section in major, just like our plan has. So that's the A section, and now the B section. There's a B section, and then we can return to the A section again. So beautiful piece that uses the same plan. I'm not sure if you're able to sort of follow along from the plan that we talked about. I mean, essentially we have a section that's in major, sorry, a section in minor to start with, and then a section in major, and then we go back to the minor section. Let's have a listen to another one. So this one is by Brittany, and she titled it Mazurka dentro casa. So Adelita is a mazurka, which is has some implications to it. But if you follow the template, it doesn't necessarily need to be a mazurka. But this is Brittany's piece, so this will be quite different. Hers is in A minor for the first section, and then goes into A major in the B section and returns back to A minor. So we still get a similar framework, but she's changed the key. I'll play that again. Sequence. Yeah. Now the B section in major. So there is another piece using the same template. Let's take a look at something else by George. So the same plan again. This is by George Jenner. And actually he's written a piece. He's already completed the challenge. This is actually a mazurka he wrote in the past, I think a couple of years ago, using the same template. Now George changes the order. He starts the first section in major, and then the B section he goes into minor. So there's the A section. I'll hear it again. There's the A section. Now we go to the B section. B section repeated. Back to the A section. So a really beautiful example there. Quite a different mood and style to Adelita, to this. But very much inspired by it. So let's check if we have any questions. I see Kiem here. Hello. And William, hello. All right. Another piece. This is something quite different here. This is by Malcolm. And Malcolm's a bit of a fan of sort of more modern harmony. So he wrote this, and it's based on the plan, but it's just a little bit more dissonant, a little bit more inspired by modern harmony. So let's have a listen to Malcolm's mazurka. We still have that same overall structure though. There's the A section, and then we go to the B section. All right, so hopefully that's demonstrating the fact that using the same plan, actually, by using the same plan, you can still create a lot of versatility, a lot of unique, different ideas. And you'd even find this with the same person. So even if you are using the same plan again and again, you can actually get a lot of variety out of it, because it's a template. It's like a guide. So that guide could lead you to many different places. And actually, one of the really cool things to try out with the plan is to improvise around the plan too. If you've never tried improvisation, having a structure is probably one of the most useful things when it comes to improvisation, having a structure to follow. So if you have that plan in front of your eyes, then you might even find yourself being able to improvise something based on that. So if I go back, let's go back to the plan here, right at the beginning, and let's try and improvise out something using this plan. And I'm going to stick to the chord shapes here, so they're all in first position. I'm going to stick to the first position and see what happens. So I'm going to improvise out a piece of music using this plan, and with that, if you did that, you could compose a piece almost instantaneously. Like you play from start to finish, and you're done. You've composed it. So sometimes it's nice to record an improvisation, so you can document it, and maybe most of it is worth writing down. You write it down, and there's your piece. So let's have a look at what would happen if we improvise around this. So we start with E minor, A minor, B7. I'm just gonna move the melody around a little bit. Remember, we're going to copy and paste the first 4 bars into the second. So I've got an A section done. I'm done. I've done the A section through improvisation. Now the B section. There we go. It's kind of hard to. I'm really trying to limit myself so I don't play in anything other than the first position. But there's the B section done. Then I go back to the A section. I have to remember what I did before. I think it was something like this. Right, so in a matter of minutes, I've created at least a framework for a composition through improvisation. Okay, now let's say, I want to do something a little bit different. Well, now I could say, now I won't limit myself to the first position. I'll just go a bit more free with, where I play these chords. Okay, so now there's an A section, a little bit more, complex because I'm using higher chord voicings, a bit more melodic motion. If I want to make it something like really drastically different, let's go. Something with arpeggios. Or if I want to do something with tremolo. Right, so the possibilities are really just down to your imagination. And yeah, improvisation can be a really fantastic way to get the ball rolling. Excuse me, to get the ball rolling. And from there, you know, sometimes you don't even know where things will go. So that's another approach you could take. Let's have a look if we have... yeah, cool. So William has tried improvising around it. And that's really cool. So you want, yeah, so you, yeah, it's ending up sounding a bit too much maybe like the original piece, Adelita. So yeah, you could try out some of the different textures, you know, strumming, tremolo, or you could, sometimes it's fun to reverse things. So for example, if Adelita's the melody sequencing down, you could sequence up. If it's using an arpeggio texture, you could use a chordal texture or vice versa. And yeah, so cool. Yeah, Trish is here. Yeah, lots of ideas. So let's take a look at a couple of pieces that were already composed. They've already been composed since, well, this one by Eli. Eli's one of the members of CCG, and composed this in under an hour. So now I've literally not read through this yet. So this is like a debut, sight reading debut for you. So let's see how I go. All right, I'll put the score up for you so you can see. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna go here. Here we go. All right, so here's the score, and he's titled it Ripples. So he's used the framework. The reason I can see that he's used the framework is the thing that gives it away most is we've got an A section here, and then I can see a B section here. So, oh, but actually, he's going back to another section here. So, interesting. I think if Eli's still in the chat, we'd love to hear from you, Eli. What was your process? How did you vary away from, like, what's the same as the original template, and what did you vary? I'm really curious to hear that. So, but in the meantime, let's have a listen, and I'll do my best to play this for you. Oops. Oops, we're in minor now. Got to watch my key signatures. Oh, beautiful work. my goodness, I hope I did it a little bit of justice with my sight reading there. Fantastic. To come up with that in under an hour is just phenomenal. I mean, imagine if we just composed like that, every hour, write about, I don't know, 8 pieces a day or something, 8 hours a day. That'd be pretty neat. Wow, fantastic work. Beautiful. This opening motive is really, really gorgeous. I love how that D sharp comes in over the A chord, right? It resolves. Get a bit of a minor chord there. So now we get a repeat of that section, but with different texture. And then we get the same thing in minor. It's like a transposed version of the start. So these same couple of bars from the beginning, Eli's put them into the minor mode and kind of trailed off to do it, went into a different direction from there. Oops. And then we go to a new section. So I'm curious, if Eli's here, curious to know what the process was there. How did Eli vary from the original? So here we go. Thanks, Eli. He says he's hopefully happy with my sight reading. Looked at the plan. He wanted to put his own stamp on it, so he didn't probably stick to it. Okay, so the repeats are sort of a theme and variations. Cool. Oh, yeah, I see. Continuously play, no gaps in between the variations. There we go. So Eli, that's a brilliant demonstration of how you can use a plan and actually start to manipulate, bend it in different ways, expand bits, change bits, add bits, take away bits of it, change the keys at different points, use different keys, use different ideas. But I think having that initial plan just gives you a starting point, like a seed where ideas can be planted from. So that's really beautiful. Fantastic. Let's have a look at another one. This is called Mazurka in a Moment by George. Let's take a look here. I've got so many scores around here. Here we go. There. Mazurka in a Moment. So this is by George. Now I'm just taking a quick look through. Looks like we start in major, G major, and then we go to G minor, and then back to G major again. Knowing George, he probably wrote this pretty quick. He's got the ability to do that. So let's have a listen. With the repeat. B section. I'm playing that wrong. Back to the first section. Yeah, beautiful piece. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Yeah. Oh. Very nice, beautiful melody at the start there. Nice, really nice contrast in the B section. So there we go. So there are a couple of pieces that have been done so far. So I'll be recording those very, very soon, publishing those, and it's off to a great. Challenge is already off to a great start, and very excited to see what the other members do. Now, if you want to join this challenge, you are very welcome to. We're doing this challenge on the creative classical guitarist. So this is just a little look into the creative classical guitarist, CCG. It's essentially, it's like an online community / platform. There's tons of resources here. So we've got, resources. We've got a practice room. So there's resources here. We've got a practice room here where people upload practice that they've been doing. We've got checklists here for various things. We've got recordings and scores, and then we've got different programs here you can go through that kind of walk you through step by step. Foundations walks you through creativity, from the foundations and up. So we've got a whole sort of curriculum mapped out for that. So we've got different programs there, different live events that go on associated with those. We've got different topics like composition, which is where the challenge is. We've got analysis, harmony, technique, sight reading, interpretation. So there's lots of resources. You can search the site. It's really easily, really easy to search. You want to search like any term, like if you want the tremolo, for example, just type in the word tremolo, and everything that's been posted on CCG to do with tremolo will be there. Books, videos of people, pieces that have been written, tremolo pieces have been written, workshop recordings. So it's a vast resource, but I think the most beautiful thing about CCG is the community. And just if I just scroll through this feed here, you'll just see some of the cool things that have been going on. So this is David practicing his piece, a composition that he wrote recently. Get some lovely comments. There's Kiem playing Maria Luisa, beautiful piece. I'll look forward to checking those recordings out soon. What else do we have? This is George recording Secret Love, a version by Takamitsu. There's Eli posting his piece. So this community is really great. Kevin posting harmonization with sevenths. What do we have here? So we have a melody, and then he's harmonized the melody with sevenths. Harmonized with triads, harmonized with sevenths. There we go. Yeah. So, there's just almost every day there's things like this coming up. Questions come up. Started a piece of MuseScore, it's not playing back, what do I do? That's great. Questions like that, fantastic, because a lot of members have great experience with MuseScore. MuseScore, if you don't know, MuseScore is a free app or free program you can download for writing notation out on your computer, and it's just a wonderful, really, really great program. George posted how to write a Nocien. So if you know Eric Satie's Nociens for the piano. I think they, I think a group of members had a session together studying one of these Nociens and creating a canvas, creating a plan like what we were looking at before. So there's a plan for a Nocien. It's really cool. I might give it a go if I have some time. It's a overture by Eli. There's a recording there. So this is an example of the community. Trisha uploading one of her pieces as well. So the community is just fantastic. We have live events very, very frequently throughout the week, and we are just, I think, trying to, shift the culture so that classical guitar can embrace creativity. I think creativity is such a beautiful thing, when you're able to compose your own music and improvise and arrange, and you have the skills to do that. You're able to I think, have a really great sense of fulfillment in what you do. I know this myself. When I was younger, I used to do the whole sort of competition circuit, and I played all the standard pieces, standard repertoire, and it's great. It's really, there's a lot of beautiful repertoire out there, but it just ends up this way, that a lot of guitarists tend to play, a lot of classical guitarists anyway, tend to play the same pieces as each other. And I mean, I have to say, pieces like Asturias and Recuerdos de la Alhambra and Lagrima, they've already been played so well for so many decades that I just sort of feel like, well, what am I contributing? If I work really hard at playing these beautiful pieces, I'm sure you can get some sense of satisfaction from that, but I think personally you get even greater satisfaction if you're playing music that you wrote. And that's what this composition challenge is really all about. It's trying to encourage people who haven't tried composing before to give it a go and have such a clear process that it's almost hard not to do it if you follow the process. That's my hope with preparing the challenge. And the challenge comes with video demonstrations that show you everything, and all the examples we looked at. So I hope you can come on board. If you're not part of CCG, you can join CCG, and it's like a monthly subscription, and come along for the ride and give it a go. So do we have any questions? I don't think we've got any questions today, because it looks like the people in the chat are fairly experienced composers from what I know. So Douglas, thanks for joining us, Douglas, as well. Kiem says, it's always good to base not too strictly on the plan, in my opinion. Yeah. Well, I think if it's your first time composing ever, then you might want to stick to the plan, especially if you feel like you're getting stuck. It's good to go back to the original plan, but definitely agree with you, especially if you're a bit more experienced. I think it is nice to, bend the rules a little bit. So, well, we might finish there, and maybe how about I play something else, not necessarily to do with the challenge, but I've got a few minutes left. I was going to make this 1 hour long, so how about another mazurka that I haven't practiced for a while, but it's an old favorite, Mazurka Appassionata by Agustin Barrios. And I hope that one day we can create a plan based on this piece, which is a much more elaborate, like intricate type of mazurka than Adelita. Adelita in some ways is like a miniature, which is beautiful, and it's fairly short, very much based on Chopin's miniature mazurkas. But this mazurka by Barrios is like an epic, epic version of a mazurka. So I'll finish with this for today. right. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope to see you in the challenge and look forward to seeing what you compose and what you create. All the best.